saw before I died was the ceiling of my dorm room, stained with water damage and the shadows of my suffering. I was 20 years old. I was a junior at Sterling University, the most prestigious private college in the country. NY grades were perfect. NY future was bright. And I was dying alone on a cold linoleum floor because of a video I never made and a lie that destroyed my life. 3 months earlier, someone had posted a deepfake video online. The IT showed my face, my body, doing things I had never done with people I had never met. The video went viral within hours. By morning, my name was trending on every social media platform to be by the end of the week. I'd lost everything. NY scholarship was revoked. NY friends stopped answering my calls. My professors looked at me with pity or disgust. NY phone filled with messages from strangers telling me to kill myself. I tried to fight it, that I went to the administration, that I filed reports, that I begged for an investigation. But the video was too convincing, and the people behind it were too powerful. Sabine Whitmore, the girl who had orchestrated everything, was the daughter of Ayoud Est, senator. Her friends, Marcus Hale, Victor Chin, Elena Rossi, were the children of billionaires and CEOs. They had resources I couldn't imagine, lawyers who buried my complaints, connections that erased every trace of my defense. They targeted me because I was poor, because I was a scholarship student in a sea of trust funds, because I had dared to correct Sabine in class when she made a factual error. "You think you're smarter than me?" she had said, her voice cold and quiet. "I'll show you what happens to girls who don't know their place." The deep fake was her revenge, and when the video had done its work, when I was isolated, desperate, and alone, they came for me in person. They cornered me in the library basement. They held me down. They poured a bottle of cheap vodka down my throat and left me unconscious in the snow outside the freshman dorms. The school found me and expelled me for alcohol violations. I went home to my parents' trailer in rural Ohio, and I spent 3 months in my childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling, unable to eat or sleep or speak. And then, on a cold January morning, I swallowed every pill in the medicine cabinet and waited for the darkness. But the darkness didn't come. Instead, there was light. System initializing. Host detected, Elara Vance. Status, deceased by suicide. Root cause, systematic bullying, deepfake defamation, and conspiracy. Compatibility, 98.9%. Activating karmic rebirth protocol. This system is bound by the laws of cosmic justice. You have been wronged beyond mortal measure. You are granted one chance to return. Initiating temporal rewind, 2 years. I opened my eyes to the familiar ceiling of a different room. My freshman dorm at Sterling University. The date on my phone read, September 1st, 2 years before the video, 2 years before my death. Welcome package activated, skill unlocked, thought detection level 1. You can hear the surface thoughts of anyone within a 15-meter radius. Skill unlocked, technical mastery level 1. You have advanced knowledge of coding, hacking, and digital forensics. Skill unlocked, physical enhancement level 1. Your strength, speed, and durability have been increased by 100% above baseline. First quest, identify your enemies. Discover their secrets. Prepare for the war to come. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding. I was 18 again. I was back at the beginning. And this time, I was going to destroy them. I started with thought detection. Sabine lived 2 floors above me in the same dorm. The Whitmore family had donated a building, so she was given a penthouse suite. That first day, I walked past her in the hallway and heard her thoughts. Asterisk, there's the scholarship rat. Look at her clothes. She shops at Walmart. She doesn't belong here. I'll give her a semester before she drops out. Asterisk. Marcus Hale, the quarterback of the football team and Sabine's on-again boyfriend, was next. I sat near him in the dining hall and heard his thoughts. Asterisk, need to get my grades up. Dad said if I fail another class, he's cutting off my trust fund. Maybe I can pay that nerdy girl to write my papers for me. The poor one, she'll do anything for money. Asterisk. Victor Chen, the son of a tech billionaire, was more calculating. His thoughts were cold and analytical. Asterisk Sabine's vendetta is irrational, but she's useful. Her father's connections can help my startup. I'll support her against the Vance girl. It's just business. Asterisk. Elena Rossi, Sabine's best friend and roommate, was the worst. Her thoughts were a cascade of venom. Asterisk Sabine is so beautiful. Perfect. I hate her, but I need her. She's my ticket to the top. When she destroys the scholarship girl, I'll help, but I'll do anything Sabine asks. Anything? Asterisk. They were all rotten. Every single one of them. And I was going to expose them. I enrolled in computer science classes and used technical mastery to accelerate my learning. Within 3 months, I was proficient in hacking, digital forensics, and surveillance. Within 6 months, I had broken into Sabine's personal email, Marcus's financial records, Victor's startup files, and Elena's private messages. I found evidence of academic fraud, bribery, tax evasion, and, in Marcus's case, a history of sexual misconduct that had been covered up by his family's lawyers. I stored everything in a secure server, building a case that would destroy them all. But evidence alone wasn't enough. I needed power, and I needed resources, and I needed allies. The system guided me toward a name I had heard whispered in the campus tech circles, Adrian Sterling. A reclusive billionaire alumnus who had made his fortune in cybersecurity and now ran Sterling Global, the largest digital security firm in the world. He visited campus once a year to give a lecture, and that lecture was happening next week. I spent 7 days preparing, that I researched his career, his interests, his philanthropic work, that I wrote a white paper on deepfake detection that showcased my technical mastery. And on the day of his lecture, I arrived early and sat in the front row. Adrian Sterling was tall, silver-haired, with the quiet intensity of someone who had spent his life outthinking adversaries. His lecture was brilliant, and when he opened the floor for questions, my hand was the first one up that I didn't ask a question. I made a statement about the ethical implications of deepfake technology and the need for stronger detection algorithms, that I cited his own research, that I proposed a solution that built on his work. The room went silent. Adrian stared at me for a long moment. Then he smiled. See me after the lecture. I'd like to continue this conversation. That conversation changed everything that I told him about my research, that I showed him my white paper. I didn't tell him about my rebirth. He would think I was insane, but I told him I was a scholarship student with a passion for cybersecurity. He offered me an internship at Sterling Global on the spot. Over the next 18 months, I became indispensable, that I developed detection algorithms that revolutionized the industry, that I briefed senators and CEOs, that I was promoted 3 times. And all the while, I watched my enemies, Sabine, Marcus, Victor, Elena, drifting through their privileged lives, unaware that the scholarship that they despised was building an empire around them. 2 years after my rebirth, the deepfake was scheduled to be released, and my previous life, Sabine had paid a hacker $50,000 to create it. This time, I was ready. I had traced the hacker, intercepted his communications, and documented every payment. I had also uncovered something far more damning. Sabine's father, Senator Whitmore, had been laundering campaign contributions through a shell company. Marcus's father had been covering up his son's sexual misconduct. Victor's startup was built on stolen intellectual property. Elena's mother was engaged in massive tax fraud. On the night the deepfake was supposed to go live, I made my move. Sterling University was hosting its annual Founders Day Gala in the grand ballroom of the Student Union. 2,000 guests filled the room, students, faculty, alumni, and half the wealthy parents who had donated buildings. Sabine was there, radiant in a silver gown, her father at her side. Marcus was in a tuxedo, his arm around her waist. Victor and Elena hovered nearby, laughing and sipping champagne. Senator Whitmore took the stage. I want to thank Sterling University for hosting this wonderful event. I want to thank my daughter Sabine, who makes me proud every single day. And I want to announce a new initiative, the Whitmore Scholarship Fund, which will provide opportunities for underprivileged students to attend this great institution. Applause thundered. I walked toward the stage. I was wearing a simple black dress, elegant, understated, unforgettable. The crowd parted before me. "That's a wonderful announcement, Senator," I said. "But before you launch that scholarship, I think everyone here deserves to know exactly what kind of family the Whitmores really are." Sabine's face went white. "Elara, what are you doing here?" "Security." "Security works for the university. The university's largest donor is Sterling Global, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer of Sterling Global." I pulled out my phone and pressed a button. The massive screens behind the stage flickered to life. "Let me show you what I've been working on for the past 2 years." The screens filled with evidence: Sabine's emails to the hacker, the deepfake script, the payment records, Marcus's history of assault, documented in messages, Victor's stolen code, traced line by line. Elena's complicity, captured in her own words. Senator Whitmore's money laundering, exposed in bank transfers and shell company registrations. "This is a lie!" Sabine shrieked. "She's fabricating all of this. She's nobody, a scholarship student from a trailer park." "I am a scholarship student," I said. "And I am also the person who just sent every piece of this evidence to the FBI, the IRS, and the New York Times. Your families have spent years thinking you were untouchable. You are wrong." The doors opened. Federal agents streamed in. Senator Whitmore was handcuffed on stage. Sabine screamed and tried to run, but an agent blocked her path. Marcus lunged at me, but 2 agents intercepted him. Victor stood frozen, his face gray. Elena burst into tears. I watched them all being dragged away, and I felt the karmic ledger pulse in my mind. Asterisk, all debts collected. Balance restored. Asterisk. The aftermath was swift. Senator Whitmore was convicted on 14 counts of money laundering, bribery, and conspiracy, sentenced to 22 years in federal prison. Sabine was convicted as an accessory to her father's crimes, along with cyberstalking and defamation, receiving 12 years. Marcus's father was disgraced and his company collapsed. Marcus was convicted of sexual assault and sentenced to 15 years. Victor's startup was dissolved, and he was convicted of intellectual property theft, receiving 8 years. Elena testified against the others and received 5 years of probation, her family's fortune crippled by tax fraud penalties. Sterling University issued a public apology to me. Too late to matter. I declined their offer of reinstatement. I didn't need their degree anymore. Adrian Sterling promoted me to CEO of the Sterling Foundation, the philanthropic arm of his empire. Under my leadership, we created real scholarships for students who had been dismissed or marginalized. We funded anti-bullying programs and deepfake detection research. We built a network of survivors who had been silenced by the powerful. And Adrian himself became my closest friend, my mentor, and eventually something more. He was 30 years older than me, but age mattered less than the quiet understanding we shared. He had been bullied as a young man, dismissed for his eccentric ideas. He had built his empire alone, trusting no one until he met me. We were married 3 years after the gala, in a small ceremony at his estate in the mountains. I was 23, he was 53. The tabloids called it a scandal. I called it happiness. 10 years later, I stand on the balcony of our home, watching the sun set over the hills. My husband is beside me. Our children, we have 2, a boy and a girl, are playing in the garden. Somewhere, Sabine Whitmore is sitting in a federal prison. Somewhere, Marcus Hale is serving out his sentence. Somewhere, the world is a little bit safer because of the woman I became. I was supposed to die in a dorm room, erased by the cruelty of people who saw me as nothing, but I was given a second chance. And I used it to burn their empire to the ground and build a new one from the ashes.